You're listening to the Marlin Broadcasting Local Look. This is Nicole Marie. And today in the studio, I have a great person, Dean Teitelbaum, who is the owner of Stride to Health in Simsbury, Connecticut. Hello, Dean. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, Dean, you have a really cool and interesting business out of Simsbury called Stride to Health. And the basic premise of your business is to develop optimum health. You work a lot with runners and different athletes from high school to kind of pro athletes. And what you do is to make sure that everybody who's involved in physical fitness is doing it correctly and doing it the best they can while staying healthy at the same time. Is that a fair assessment of what you do?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, basically what we do is emphasize health rather than fitness. We say that it's okay to be fit, but some people are fit and not healthy, and what we try to combine both of those.
For the layperson, health and fitness is supposed to go hand in hand, but you kind of have a different take on it, that not necessarily, and they're actually very two separate things.
Right.
So can you define that a little bit better?
Absolutely. If you look at it as a typical professional athlete, maybe a basketball player or football player, they got six-pack abs, maybe they can slam dunk a basketball, they can jump high, run fast, and all that stuff. But if you were to actually look at the inside of their body, is it healthy? If you took their blood and looked at it under a microscope, what would you see? And I'd be willing to bet that with the vast majority of athletes who are fit, you're going to see some wacky things in their blood. You're going to see things like mold and bacteria, yeast, floating around in their blood. So what we say is you can be fit but also be healthy, and health is really about balance in your body and being balanced inside as well as outside.
I think we're hearing that a lot more in our society, is that you eat right, you can exercise, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your nutrition is correct or that you're doing everything. There's a lot more to it, I guess, as the science is coming out, and it can get pretty confusing, but part of what you do is to break it down for folks and kind of put it in terms that everybody can understand. So someone who comes to you, what are you going over? Their diet and their physical activity?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what their goals are, but for the most part, it's going to be a matter of teaching them how to exercise in a way where we're limiting acid production, and to also do things to facilitate the removal of acids from the body. Mm-hmm. And then also, as far as nutrition goes, get them to eat foods that are less acid forming and that help to promote the elimination of acid from the body, because ultimately what we want to do is maintain an alkaline balance. Alkaline is the opposite of acidity. And when you exercise a certain way and eat a certain way, it makes it a lot easier to help maintain that balance.
And I would imagine if you're eating correctly, then as you kind of work yourself into a workout regime, it makes that easier as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of people get stuck in a cycle. Mm-hmm. I call it like an acid cycle, where your body can literally become addicted to acid. And you see it a lot with high-level athletes, people that are constantly go, 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 and really don't give themselves much of a break. Those are the people that end up being addicted to sugar, and because their bodies are constantly burning sugar, so then they constantly eat sugar. They're always eating the fruits and the gel packets that you see a lot of athletes using, and a lot of other like carbohydrate foods, pastas, bagels, and things like that. And they might feel okay short term, but the reality is long term, it's not going to do any good for the health of their body on the inside.
Now, you mentioned a couple of things like the sugars and lots of white flour, for example, in your diet. Those, in one sense, can be just highly addictive for folks. I mean, they're just kind of constantly consuming those things. So I would imagine for someone who comes to you to want to wean off of that can be a pretty difficult process.
Yeah, it is. It's a process. Process is the key word. Mm-hmm. It's nothing that you're going to do overnight, and you really got to be gentle. And it's not about being perfect, and I really stress that a lot. I'm not perfect. I have no desire to be perfect. I enjoy having birthday cake once in a while or having an alcoholic beverage once in a while. Mm-hmm. For me, to completely give all that up is unrealistic, and I'd probably create more stress by thinking about what am I missing out on. So if you just make a realistic goal of easing into things and making a slow transition, doing little things, taking baby steps, eventually all those little baby steps add up to one big step towards a healthier body.
So part of what you do at Stride to Health is, as we were mentioning, sitting down with folks, getting them on a nice physical routine, working on their diets. But there's a lot more of what you do, and unfortunately we only have 20 minutes today to talk, so I want to touch on the other aspects of what you're doing. Of course, running is a huge part of what you do, working with athletes on how they're running physically, if they're doing it correctly. There's a lot of different theories on how to run. So what if an athlete comes to you, and how does that process start working? Do you go out and run with them and see what they're doing?
Yeah, well, first what we usually do is we're going to do a biomechanical evaluation.
Now, what is that? That's a new phrase.
Well, basically it's just a matter of looking head to toe at their joints, at their muscles. We're looking for muscle imbalances where maybe one muscle's weaker or tighter than another, and that's going to create an imbalance at a joint. And if somebody is not active, those issues may go unnoticed and not cause any problems. Mm-hmm. But now that they're going to become active and increase their activity level, those muscle imbalances and things like that can basically set them up for injury if not corrected beforehand.
Okay.
So we'll go through the biomechanical evaluation, try to find anything that could be potentially a pitfall, and work on correcting that. And as far as running goes, then yeah, we go out and we teach them techniques. We use metaphors of things to think about while you're running to make it more enjoyable so it doesn't feel like a chore. Mm-hmm. And essentially what we're doing for the most part is teaching people to slow down and not be so competitive with themselves. You know, we don't necessarily work with a lot of high-level athletes. We're mostly working with everyday people who just are looking for a way to be healthy and exercise without getting hurt.
Now, on your website, and we'll about that information in just a bit so folks can grab a pen and get ready to write that down. At your website, I was reading through, and you mentioned slowing down, that when you're running, it's really not about running fast, because you can actually end up not have a healthy balance within yourself if you do fast running, but finding a nice stride and finding the correct pace for yourself physically.
Right, yeah. The pace, basically what it comes down to is, are you at a fat-burning pace, mm-hmm. or a sugar-burning pace? If you're burning sugar, then your body's going to be producing a lot more acid as a byproduct of that sugar metabolism. And that acid, if it's not eliminated properly, is what's going to end up causing havoc on your insides, your mm-hmm. system. Whereas when you're burning fat, it's a more efficient fuel, it's a cleaner fuel, and you're not going to have that acid production. And when we have our clients experience the difference between burning fat and burning sugar when they're running, and they actually experience that, it's like a night and day difference. When they're burning sugar, that's when they feel like running's such a chore, and it's like, why am I doing this?
Right.
Whereas when they're in that fat burning state, it's completely different. It's literally an experience where it's almost, if you